Welcome, 8th graders, to today's explainer lesson. Listen, I'm incredibly excited to have you here today because we're tackling a genuinely critical topic. We're going to focus on becoming expert media navigators. Think about your everyday life. You are literally bombarded with information, right? You've got social media algorithms pushing targeted ads onto your feeds, influencers on YouTube trying to sell you lifestyles, and this constant, never-ending stream of news and opinions flooding your phone. To navigate all of that successfully without getting swept away, you have to understand exactly why authors write the things we read. We've got to uncover their hidden motives. So grab your detective hats and get ready to sharpen those critical reading skills today. Okay, here is our roadmap for today. First, the big idea, author intent. 2, spotting the purpose clues. 3, comparing purposes across genres. 4, speech seasoned with salt. And finally, number 5, the godly learner philosophy. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The big idea, author intent.
We are building our foundation right here. Think of author intent as the hidden engine driving every single piece of media you consume. The author's purpose is simply the underlying reason they wrote the text. Usually, it falls into one of 4 main buckets. Maybe they want to inform you with facts, like your biology textbook explaining how photosynthesis works. Or maybe they want to persuade you to change your mind or buy something, like a super targeted ad for a brand new video game. Sometimes they just want to entertain you, giving you an escape through an awesome dystopian fantasy novel. And lastly, sometimes an author writes to inspire you, like a story about a massive sports comeback that just makes you feel deeply motivated to give your best. The crucial point here is that understanding this lets you appreciate content beyond just what it says to exactly why it's being said.
Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, but why does this actually matter for me? Well, have you ever felt totally tricked into buying some gadget online that turned out to be completely useless? Or maybe you fell for a crazy rumor because the article just sounded so incredibly convincing. Yeah, that is exactly what happens when we ignore author intent. Recognizing the purpose helps you read critically and respond thoughtfully. When you know the why behind the writing, you become equipped to actually judge whether that piece of media is trustworthy. You stop being just a passive consumer waiting to be told what to think, and you become an active, critical thinker who simply cannot be easily manipulated. It's a real game changer.
Moving right along to Section 2, spotting the purpose clues. If authors are hiding their real intentions behind big words and flashy headlines, how do we actually find them? Well, we need a toolkit. Whenever you read something new, I want you to filter that text through 3 specific clues: language choice, structure, and content selection. By paying close attention to these 3 areas, the author's true goal is going to rise right to the surface. Let's see how this plays out in the real world. Imagine you're reading an article about a new school policy banning cell phones in the hallways. If the author's goal is simply to inform you, their language choice will be incredibly neutral and factual. They'll just state the times the ban is in effect and the consequences. Structurally, it'll be standard and organized. And for content, they'll present all the facts objectively, both the school board's reasoning and the student's initial reactions. But what if a student writes an editorial trying to persuade the school to overturn that ban? The whole shebang changes. The language suddenly becomes filled with loaded words and urgent calls to action. They might use words like draconian or absolutely essential. Structurally, instead of a standard list of facts, it'll carefully build up to this highly emotional conclusion, repeating key arguments to really hammer them home. And most importantly, content selection changes completely. A persuasive piece won't give you all the facts objectively. Actually, they're going to selectively leave out details that hurt their argument and heavily highlight only the stuff that supports getting the ban lifted.
All right, Section 3, comparing purposes across genres. Let's see this in action.
Let's put our new toolkit into practice and see what happens when the exact same topic is handled completely differently. Take recycling, for example. A government report on recycling is designed strictly to inform. It gives you raw statistics, landfill capacities, official city policies. It's dry, it's straightforward, and it uses totally neutral language. But contrast that with a nonprofit flyer handed out at a rally. That flyer is going to use bold statements and heavy emotional appeals, maybe pictures of polluted oceans or endangered animals. Its goal isn't just to hand you data, its goal is to persuade you to change your behavior right now, separate your plastics, and donate to their cause. It's the exact same topic, but they use a completely different toolkit. The theme of planting trees can also take on entirely different lives. A short story about a boy planting magical trees that grow overnight into massive fortresses, that is designed to entertain. It's lighthearted, imaginative, and meant to give your brain a fun escape. But if someone writes a deeply personal blog post on that exact same topic of tree planting, focusing instead on our responsibility to care for the environment and leave the world better than we found it, their goal is to inspire you. They want to motivate you to step outside and truly care about God's creation.
Or think about a recent health study on the benefits of getting 8 hours of sleep. An online news article is just giving you the cold, hard data. It explains the methodology and the objective results. The sole purpose is to inform. But picture a dynamic speaker pacing the stage at a TED Talk using that exact same sleep study. They aren't just reading facts off a clipboard, they're using that data to weave a compelling story, to provoke a reaction, and to push you toward personal transformation. Their goal is to inspire a real change in your daily habits. Identifying these subtle differences across genres is exactly what makes you an expert reader.
Okay, moving to section 4, speech seasoned with salt.
As media navigators, finding the author's purpose isn't just some academic trick to help you pass a reading comprehension test. It actually dictates how we interact with the world around us as Christians. The Apostle Paul tells us in Colossians 4:6, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." When we correctly evaluate an author's purpose, it directly equips us to follow this exact scripture. Think about it. When you know someone online is just trying to trigger your emotions to persuade you into a heated argument, you don't have to take the bait. You can take a breath, step back, and respond with peace instead of getting angry. If you know someone is just trying to objectively inform you, you can engage logically. Understanding the intent allows you to frame your response perfectly, helping you answer thoughtfully, graciously, and accurately without ever being caught off guard. Before we wrap up the academic side, here is your homework mission. I need you to put on your detective hats. First, define author's purpose in your own words so it really sticks with you. Second, name one clue from the toolkit we just learned. Third, hunt down your own real-world examples of an entertaining text and a persuasive text, things you actually see in your day-to-day life. And finally, explain the why behind different authors' choices when they tackle the exact same topic. Show me you've mastered today's toolkit. Finally, Section 5, the Godly Learner Philosophy. Let's step back and look at the deeper why behind our learning today here at HeroesMart Academy. We intentionally intertwine biblical morality with your education. Why do we do this? Because honestly, education without morality can actually hurt. Just being highly intelligent or capable of decoding a complex text isn't enough on its own. History is absolutely full of incredibly smart people who use their communication skills for all the wrong reasons. A brilliant communicator without a moral compass might use their persuasive skills to deceive, trick, or manipulate people for their own gain. That is exactly why your knowledge and intelligence must always be guided by a moral compass, ensuring you use your skills to make wise, God-honoring choices. As Romans 8 verses 6 and 7 teach us, keeping your mind spiritually grounded is what ultimately leads to life and peace. In a world that is going to literally shout at you through screens, apps, and pages with a million different persuasive purposes, being spiritually minded is your ultimate anchor. When the media landscape tries to cause anxiety or outrage, that spiritual foundation is what brings you genuine peace. So my challenge to you is simple. We want you to pursue absolute academic excellence. We want you to become brilliant media navigators who can spot language clues, structural changes, and biased content selection from a mile away. But you must do all of that while keeping your mind centered entirely on God, on truth, on wisdom, and on righteous choices. As you close this explainer lesson and head out into the world, maybe as you read your very next article or story, I want you to ask yourself this one essential question. Will you use your communication skills just to be a capable student, or will you use them to be a wise and godly leader? The choice is entirely yours. Strive for wisdom, 8th graders. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in our next lesson.